Well, the weekend comes, and so does Michael Snyder. I don't mean that in any salacious way, but he comes to us from the west coast of the United States and tells us what you should go see and what you shouldn't go see. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Alex, and greetings to everybody. It's 2018. We've got new movies. We've got all kinds of stuff to talk about. But, you know, let's get right down to it with a movie that I was kind of looking forward to and a movie that did not disappoint me. You know, sequelitis can really lay a franchise low. You have a successful film, and then the next movie, when they go to the well, it's once too often, or it falters. In the case of Paddington 2, that's really not the case. The lovable, iconic teddy bear of children's literature, Paddington Bear, is more than just a cute little bearsy-wearsy invented by a very canny and clever British author, one Michael Bond, no relation to James. Paddington is now the star of two wonderful, smart, funny, and endlessly charming family movies that not only feature some of the most plausible computer-animated characters, specifically our hero, Paddington, interacting with real people and settings, but also a cast of some of the UK's most sterling actors and actresses. Anyway, did you ever want to adopt a teddy bear? I mean, remember those Vermont teddy bears people used to buy? And, I mean, you used to hawk them on the air, Alex. In any case, the Brown family, in last year's international hit movie Paddington, did just that. Open-hearted human residents of a picturesque block in modern-day London, they adopted a sweet and innocent young bear who traveled to England all the way from the wilds of darkest Peru, where he lived with his aunt and Uncle Bear, because he wanted to see and experience a country that had thrilled him in a book, that being England. Unfortunately, he came upon the villainous Nicole Kidman. That's right, she played the villain in the previous film. And this time out, yet another significant actor plays the villain, that being Hugh Grant, who in Paddington 2 is a has-been actor forced to do dog food commercials, and he apparently thinks he can find a treasure at a traveling fair because of the secrets that are hidden in a pop-up book that young Paddington wants. Anyway, this stuff is very, very cool. And again, returning as the adoptive mother and father of Paddington Bear, we have Sally Hawkins, so good in The Shape of Water and numerous other films this year, playing sweet and charming as mom, and Hugh Bonneville, Lord Grantham from Downton Abbey, as the daddy. And, of course, again, in small roles, terrific British actors, including Jim Broadbent as Mr. Gruber, whose antique shop houses this pop-up book, Julie Waters as the basically the elderly matriarch of the Brown family, Peter Capaldi as the one neighbor on Paddington's block that can't stand the lovable little bear, and so on and so forth. Brendan Gleeson, by the way, is wonderful in this film as Paddington gets himself in trouble and gets thrown in the local penitentiary, where Brendan Gleeson is the chief cook and bottle washer and rules with an iron spoon, apparently. Ben Whishaw is the voice of Paddington Bear. You may know him from The Hours and also from being Q in the new Bond films. Look, you can't complain about this film. It is really, really charming and wonderful, and kudos to all involved, including director, co-author of the script, Paul King. Paddington 2, you can't find family entertainment better than this. Now, if you know me, you know I love a good action film, and the ongoing evolution of middle-aged action hero Liam Neeson continues with a lesser entry in a series of films where he plays an older guy who has to go back to the skills he knew as a younger man to, I don't know, save his daughter, solve a crime, find out who he actually is because he has amnesia. This movie is called The Commuter. And it is in no way, shape, or form as good as the first Taken film, which was the film that introduced the whole concept of "give me back my daughter." In fact, I wasn't as taken with this as a few other Liam Neeson actioners. For all the fun and mystery and threats that the movie comes up with, it ultimately was too implausible to buy into it. Essentially, Leeson plays Michael, an insurance salesman who has just lost his job in Manhattan, and his daily commute turns into kind of a nightmare. He's friendly on the train. People know who he is. He's had a good career. He has a wife and a child in the suburbs. They're going to send the kid to college. He needs the money, and the bottom drops out when he loses his job. So he's on the train home. He's going to confront his wife, and a woman approaches him, a woman played by Vera Farmiga, so you know something's up, and she offers him a deal. If he's able to find a specific person on the train who doesn't belong with a specific package, she's going to provide him first with $25,000 and then $75,000 more upon delivery, quote unquote. But there are catches, not the least of which is this is a deadly game. So this blackmail plan essentially goes into action, and he's got to deal with the situation. So suspension of disbelief is hampered in this film, to say the least. Still, well directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, who has worked with Neeson before to much better effect in Unknown, Nonstop, and Run All Night. And let me just say that the director's Great White Shark versus Blake Lively movie, The Shallows, is a much better film than The Commuter. But I enjoyed it. I mean, then there's this batshit crazy third act where everything goes to hell, and I won't say anything more than that, other than to suggest that this is a diversion at best, something you might want to watch at home on your widescreen television. The Commuter, it had its moments, but I was disappointed ultimately. Now let's go to something that opened a couple weeks ago that we're just getting to now because we're just back from our little holiday break. Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool. It's a pretty perfunctory mix of docudrama and biopic about the May-December relationship between a young actor in Britain and the aging Oscar-winning actress Gloria Graham, here played by Annette Bening. And Bening is so good as Graham that she carries the movie. Not to say that Jamie Bell, best known for his debut as Billy Elliot, isn't spot on as the youthful swain that Graham covets, and vice versa. He is, but the real appeal here, other than learning about this remarkable romance that I don't know is all that familiar to people in 2018, is Benning's full-bodied, nicely shaded, and sympathetic performance. The art direction is very good. The setting is evoked the UK in that era, 1978, and it swings back and forth in terms of their relationship and her story. And again, she basically makes this thing really happen. It's also directed by Paul McGuigan, who has done terrific films in the past, including Gangster No. 1, and has directed some Doctor Who episodes. I think it's a very good film of kind, if you will. Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool. But again, this is something that will play very well on home video. So it does get a recommendation, but certainly a better one than The Commuter for home viewing. Finally, let's wrap things up with In the Fade, which is a fascinating film from Germany about one woman's reaction to terrorism and bigotry with what might be the best performance of Diane Kruger's career to date. And that includes her revelatory work as the detective with Asperger's in the American version of The Bridge, where I went, oh, she's a really good actress. She's not just a pretty face. In the Fade features her as Katja, who is a white working-class German woman married to a Turkish immigrant with kind of an unsavory past that he's moved beyond with her love. They have an adorable son named Rocco. They're trying to get by. Things look okay. And then a cruel and brutal attack destroys Katja's world and sends her on a quest to exact restitution from those who perpetrated the crime. There's a lot of moral gray areas that she has to negotiate. But I felt pretty bonded to her and her attempt to find justice and satisfaction. And it doesn't hurt that this movie is directed and co-written by Fatih Akin, the wonderful Turkish immigrant German director who has done really amazing films in the past. And this is yet another one in his filmography. In the Fade, I was basically knocked out by this film and I recommend it highly. What do you got, buddy? What have you been watching on film or TV?
The only thing is on Netflix, they're currently running a British series. Again, Netflix calls it a Netflix original, but I don't know how it can be when it was originally on British television as just, a Channel 4 program. I think it was Channel 4, called End of the Fucking World. And it is, I think, it's a very strange, quirky show. It's easy to watch, 8 episodes, 20 minutes each. And it's about these 2 kids who are dysfunctional. One thinks he's a psychopath and runs away with this girl who he feels that he's going to kill because he wants to kill a human being. And the adventures ensue from there. So I think it's a great little show. My girlfriend didn't like it, but I fell in love with these 2 kids.
Well, I'm finally getting around to wrapping up watching Dark, which is basically a German attempt to do Stranger Things. It's okay. Again, via Netflix. A lot of stuff out there. We're going to get a few shows coming back. The Good Place is back on NBC, one of the most creative, funny, and clever.
I've been watching it. I've been watching
sitcoms.
It from the beginning, and I like it, but it just doesn't quite hit. It just doesn't quite do what it's supposed to do. It's, she's great, he's great, but somehow the premise gets lost in itself.
Well, it's ambitious, and for me, it works really, really well. And again, you're right, boy. Kristen Bell and obviously Ted Danson do fantastic work as the leads here. As a woman, thinks she's mistakenly sent to the good place in the afterlife when she's actually been a bad person. That's the initial premise. To say any more would undermine it, but we'll disagree a little bit.
I'm going to try and watch some more of it, but it's not something I find myself saying, "Hey, I got to watch another one of these. I got to watch another one of these."
Did you watch it? Did you watch it from the top, from the first episode?
Yes, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Give it more time. Honestly, there are rewards. But that's it, I guess. We're going to try to see some new things in the next few days and get back to you next week with more reviews. In the meantime, you can check me out on Twitter at Culture Blaster or on Facebook at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page, where you can listen to Alex and I and read a few articles, etc.
And they'll be here also on GABNet all weekend long. And we thank you very much, Michael. Stay right where you are, because there's a lot more GABNet coming right up.